Welcome back, everyone, to NFL Nexus. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today for a brand new explainer. Look, if you are a focused learner who loves getting into the absolute nitty-gritty details of NFL roster construction, you know, the really deep, under-the-radar stuff, you are in the exact right place. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment below on what you thought. Your engagement really helps us grow. Also, if you want to support the channel, you've got to check out our football-themed coloring books. Honestly, they are perfect for kids, for grandkids, or just for unwinding yourself after a long day. You can access them through the link right down in the description, or you can just scan the QR code you see on the screen right now. All right, with all of that out of the way, we are looking squarely at the Houston Texans today. The 2026 NFL Draft, it's officially in the books. The massive waves of free agency have completely settled down. And yet, if you look really closely at this roster, there is still a fascinating, complex puzzle to piece together. General Manager Nick Caserio has assembled an incredible core of elite talent. But as anyone who watches this league knows, championships aren't just won by the superstars on the poster. They are won by the depth chart. They are won by the guys who are forced to step up in the incredibly grueling months of November and December when injuries inevitably happen. It's a war of attrition. So today, we are going to break down the highly specific, under-the-radar training camp battles and the looming front office decisions that will completely define this team. We're going to find the missing pieces to the Texans' 2026 championship roster.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our exact playbook for today. We'll start with number 1, offensive camp battles. Then move to number 2, defensive depth competitions. And finally, wrap it up with number 3, the Nico Collins extension.
Now, as we go through this explainer, I really want you to keep this overarching question right in the back of your mind. What are the final pieces to the Texans' 2026 championship puzzle? Because the truth is, the foundation, it's already poured. It's rock solid. The franchise quarterback's there, the elite edge rushers are there, the shutdown corners are locked in. But to actually hoist that Lombardi trophy amidst the chaos of an NFL season, you need a 53-man roster where every single player, down to the last guy in the practice squad, is capable of executing at the highest possible level. The margins in the National Football League are literally razor thin. We're talking inches. The difference between a heartbreaking early playoff exit and a Super Bowl parade often comes down to your third wide receiver catching a vital third down pass, your rotational defensive tackle blowing up a run play, or your backup safety making a game-saving open field tackle. So let's start figuring out exactly who those unsung heroes are going to be for Houston.
Section 1. Offensive camp battles. Finding the missing links.
Okay, so on paper, the Texans' offense is a complete juggernaut. I mean, it is terrifying. But training camp is going to be an absolute downright war of attrition for the depth roles. While the big-name starters might be resting or taking much lighter reps in the blazing August heat, these backup battles are going to be where the real, raw intensity is found. These are the life-or-death competitions that will determine who steps up when the lights are the brightest. Let's start by looking at the pass catchers. The top of the depth chart is completely 100% set. You have Nico Collins, who is the undisputed alpha dog of this offense. And opposite him, you have Jaden Higgins, the 2025 second-round pick, who looks absolutely primed to make a massive star-making second-year leap. Those two are your undisputed, locked-in top targets. But behind them, man, it is an incredibly fierce competition for the wide receiver 3 role. And let's be clear, in today's heavily utilized 11 personnel NFL, where you have 3 receivers on the field most of the time, your WR3 is effectively a starting player. You need a guy there who can produce. And the Texans actually have an amazing problem here. They have 3 highly capable guys fighting tooth and nail for one primary role. First up, you have Tank Dell, and this is a massive storyline, right? He is returning from injury in 2026, looking to reclaim a premier role in this offense. When he is healthy, we all know exactly how electric he can be. He's a human joystick. But returning to actual game speed, getting hit again, trusting your body, that is always a massive hurdle. Then you have Jalen Noel. He is entering his second year and is desperately looking to make that classic, highly coveted sophomore leap. He absolutely has all the physical tools you could want, but he needs to prove he has the day-in, day-out consistency to be trusted by the coaching staff. And finally, do not count out Xavier Hutchinson. People easily forget this, but he was actually the team's 3rd leading pass catcher at the receiver position last year. He is an incredibly steady, reliable pair of hands, which is exactly what a quarterback wants when the pocket breaks down. This is exactly the kind of battle you want to see in camp. It's an iron sharpens iron situation. It pushes everyone to be better, and whoever emerges victorious out of this 3-headed monster is going to have a massive impact on this passing game.
Now we're going to look at the absolute chaos happening in the offensive trenches, because this is wild. The Texans made a huge aggressive statement in the 2026 draft by trading up into the first round to select Keelan Rutledge. This kid is a nasty, gritty, lunch pail interior offensive lineman out of Georgia Tech. And look, the unwritten rule is that when you draft a guy on the first round, he has the talent and the expectation to start on day one. Period. But here's the massive hurdle he faces. Rutledge is a natural right guard. That is his spot. That is where he thrives. However, the Texans just locked down veteran Ed Ingram at right guard with a massive, near $40 million contract just a couple of months ago. You absolutely do not pay a guy $40 million to sit on the bench and drink Gatorade. Ed Ingram is your right guard. So what does a highly touted first-round pick do in this situation? He has to pivot. Rutledge is now forced to compete for either the left guard or the center position. And I want you to look at the competition he's facing on this slide. It is genuinely staggering. If he goes for left guard, he has to beat out grizzled veteran Wyatt Teller. And Teller is also navigating a positional transition by shifting over from right guard himself. So he's fighting for his livelihood too. But if Rutledge aims for the center position instead, he's looking at a terrifying four-man gauntlet. Jake Andrews, Fobachi Nwaiwu, Jarrett Patterson, and Evan Brown. Think about that for a second. That is 5 different, highly motivated players that a rookie has to battle against for one of 2 interior spots. Yes, Rutledge's status as a premium first-round pick gives him a slight edge in terms of the pure opportunity he'll be given by the coaching staff, but absolutely nothing is guaranteed in the NFL trenches. Those guys don't care where you were drafted. This is going to be a grueling, physical, exhausting battle all summer long.
Let's transition over to the other side of the ball for Section 2, defensive depth competitions, where it is quite literally all about the next man up mentality.
Okay, so having a great starting 11 is fantastic for winning games in September, but having a deep, relentless rotation of hungry, capable backups, that is the secret sauce that sustains a deep playoff run into the bitter cold of January and February. Let's get right down into the dirt with the defensive tackles. The starting duo here is practically locked in. You have veteran Sheldon Rankins holding down one spot, bringing that seasoned leadership. And then the Texans brought in a huge spark by drafting Caden McDonald on day 2. McDonald is widely expected to be named the Week 1 starter right alongside Rankins. But here's the reality of defensive line play in the modern NFL. It requires a heavy, constant rotation to keep players fresh. You cannot ask a 300-pound man to go full speed for 70 snaps a game. You need a dominant defensive tackle 3, or DT3. And the battle for this vital role, it is fierce. On one side, you have Logan Hall. He is the high-profile free agent signing, and the Texans front office has already publicly stated they expect him to play heavily on the interior right from the start of his time in Houston. He's got expectations on his shoulders. But on the other side, you have Tommy Togiai. Togiai was an absolute standout in 2025. Honestly, he was a very pleasant surprise in the middle of Houston's line down the stretch last season. He proved he belongs. This head-to-head battle between Hall and Togiai is absolutely critical. It's the kind of battle that elevates an entire defensive unit. Having extra depth here is never, ever a bad thing, and thanks to these specific offseason tweaks, the Texans' defensive front looks significantly younger, deeper, and way more explosive than it did at this exact time last year.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how incredibly crowded the secondary room has become behind some absolute locked-in superstars. We're talking about a massive bottleneck of talent here. Look at the cornerback position first. Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter are your elite top-tier starters. They are coming off an incredible 2025 campaign where they cemented themselves as arguably the best cornerback duo in the entire National Football League. You don't touch those guys. But behind them, the primary depth spot is a total unpredictable toss-up. You have Tremont Smith, the steady, reliable veteran who held down that backup space perfectly last year. But right behind him, breathing down his neck, is Jalen Smith, a 2025 third-round pick who is looking to take a major step forward, provided, of course, that he makes a full 100% recovery from a devastating season-ending injury he suffered last November. Then, move down to the safety position. Pro Bowler Kalen Bullock is absolutely retaining his spot at free safety, and the Texans brought in Reed Blankenship, which was one of their biggest, most impactful free agent additions of the summer, to specifically fill the void at strong safety. But the backup battle here? It might genuinely be the most undecided, chaotic competition on the entire roster. You have MJ Stewart, re-signed to a one-year deal, desperately trying to reclaim the spot he lost to injury in 2025. Then you have Jalen Reed, returning from an incredibly frustrating injury-riddled rookie season where he showed these brief, tantalizing flashes of brilliance. And then, thrown right into the mix, you have Kamari Ramsey, a newly drafted 5th-round pick who brings incredible newfound athleticism and versatility to the room. You absolutely cannot count Ramsey out of carving a big rotational role for himself in year 1. It's 3 guys fighting for scraps, and it's going to be fascinating to watch.
Okay, but we have to talk about the massive elephant in the room regarding this defense, and that is the edge depth void. It's glaring. The Texans had 8 total picks in the 2026 draft, and surprisingly, they did not draft a single edge rusher, not one. This is utterly fascinating to me because they literally just lost Danico Autry and Derek Barnett. Now, Don't get me wrong here, the top of the depth chart is absolutely terrifying for opposing quarterbacks. You have Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson lining up. That is nightmare fuel. But as great as they are, those guys are humans. They simply cannot play 100% of the defensive snaps for 17 grueling weeks plus a deep playoff run. They need a reliable rotational pass rusher behind them to keep them fresh for the fourth quarter and to round out this defensive line entirely. Because they didn't address this in the draft, a major looming question remains: who backs them up? This completely opens the door for Houston's front office to look at the veteran free agent market in the coming weeks for a team-friendly, short-term deal. And one name that immediately jumps out as a potential, almost poetic target: Jadeveon Clowney. Bringing in a seasoned, battle-tested veteran like him on a strict rotational basis could be the exact puzzle piece needed to secure this defensive front, all without requiring any premium draft capital. It makes almost too much sense.
Let's move along to our final section for today, number 3, the Nico Collins extension. We are talking franchise management at its highest level.
So we are officially transitioning from the turf to the front office, because building a championship roster isn't just about X's and O's on the field, it's about strategic, forward-thinking financial juggling. It's about managing cap space, nailing the timing of deals, and knowing exactly when to lock in your elite core before the market completely outpaces you and ruins your budget. I want you to really look at this number on the screen. $20 million. That is Nico Collins' current annual salary, and he is locked in at that rate through the 2027 season. Now, to the average person, $20 million a year is a staggering, life-altering amount of money. I get that. But in the context of the National Football League, and specifically in the context of elite, top-tier wide receivers, this number is actually a massive, massive bargain for the Houston Texans. It's a steal, because Nico Collins isn't just a good receiver, he is a Pro Bowler. He is the absolute alpha pass catcher in an incredibly dynamic, high-scoring offense. His on-field production completely outkicks this current salary. And believe me, General Manager Nick Caserio knows this better than anyone. In fact, Caserio actually had to quickly step up to the mic and completely shut down trade rumors that were swirling around Collins right after the first day of the draft. Think about that. Those rumors only started because the rest of the league knows Collins is vastly underpaid for his output, and teams were trying to poach him.
And this slide right here brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Just look at the insane contrast. You have Nico Collins producing at a completely elite level for $20 million a year, while the top of the wide receiver market has completely and utterly exploded. I mean, it's gone to the moon. You look at players like the Bengals star wideout Jamar Chase, who is making upwards of $40 million a year on his absolute albatross of a contract. The market value for a top-tier pass catcher has literally doubled what Collins is currently making. Now let's be realistic for a second. Nico Collins is probably not going to command $40 million plus on his next deal. But make no mistake, he is absolutely due for a major, major payday. The strategic, savvy move for Nick Caserio and the Texans front office is to get ahead of this immediately. If you stubbornly wait until 2027 to deal with this, the price tag is only going to go higher as the salary cap inevitably expands and other receivers sign new record-breaking deals. By extending him later this summer, the Texans can definitively secure their number one pass catcher, keep their offensive core beautifully intact for years to come, and structure the cap hit in a way that still allows them to afford building out the crucial depth we've been discussing all day. It is quite literally high-stakes financial chess.
So that brings us all the way back to the ultimate question. We've seen the incredibly fierce battles for offensive and defensive depth. We've looked at the intense calculated financial maneuvering required to keep superstars like Nico Collins in the building. When you step back and put all these pieces together, the returning hungry veterans, the highly touted rookies looking to prove themselves, the calculated front office chess moves, is this the roster that finally brings a championship title to Houston? Have they actually solved the puzzle? I really want to know what you think. Head down to the comments right now and let me know who you think wins these vital depth battles in training camp. Do you think Rutledge secures a starting spot? Does Clowney come back? Let's get a conversation going. Thank you so much for joining me today on NFL Nexus for this deep dive explainer. Seriously, I appreciate you being here. Remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and please go grab one of our awesome coloring books through the link in the description or by scanning that QR code to support what we do here. Keep learning, keep analyzing the game we love, and I will see you next time as we continue to break down the most fascinating stories in football.